Yeah. And here we are, back for another fast. So fasting is more than just abstaining from food. It is a practice that transforms your body, your mind, and your spirit. But when you add the element of community, that bond, that togetherness, the journey becomes even more enriching. When you fast with a buddy, when you fast with a group, you're not just relying on your own willpower. You're tapping into a network of support that has unlimited potential and has the ability to help you overcome challenges, celebrate wins, and of course, stay accountable. Hey, that's what we're talking about in this episode. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, we are living a limitless life. We're not allowing anything to hinder us. We're not staying within those boundaries. We're breaking free from those constraints. We're presenting our best health, our best self, and our best plans for our life. And we are changing. We're moving. We're creating the life we've always wanted by avoiding complications and going to the next level. I welcome you, whatever platform you're joining us from, whether it is Instagram or LinkedIn or Twitch or Instagram, or if you are on Facebook, and then of course here on YouTube. Welcome to the community. If you're new to me, go ahead and put new in the comments, because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music. And let you know that I am happy and excited that you are here to join us. If you do have questions, go ahead and put those in the comments, because we want to get to those, make sure that we are addressing those as we go through the episode tonight. I've already seen some of our community members that are out there, and we'll jump over and say hello to them here in just a little bit. And you know how we do when we do what we do. We will take a look at my blood sugars. You will take a look at our report, and you'll see that there. Here are my reports. I've got those over on the side, and then of course I've got my Dexcom Clarity report right below me, and we'll take a look at that here in just a minute. Also, we'll be doing my check-in as we move throughout the show to make sure that you guys see and understand where we are. We'll take a look at blood sugars, and we just got a bunch of things that we're going to be doing here in just a little while. So I want to encourage you, if you've not already done so, if you've not been joining us, if you've not been on our YouTube channel, if you've not been following us on the 100-day walk to consistency, remember that is there. It is an amazing process that we are using to set ourselves up for success. We're working on being consistent. We're working on setting up a routine. We are working on becoming more resilient, becoming more resistant to the things that will push against us. And we want you to know that it has been an amazing journey. We are nearing the end of that journey together. And there's some other things that are coming, but you don't want to miss out on this. You want to make sure that you are there and that you are doing what you need to do to be in the space, to be consistent, and to set yourself up for success. Also, as we've been walking through this journey, this limitless living journey, many of you have had family members that have asked about how do we get onto the YouTube channel? How do we get onto the videos? All you have to do is type in Dwain Woode MD, and you see that there right in the middle of the screen, Dwain Woode MD, and it will take you directly to, and you'll see me there, and it will take you to our YouTube channel. And all those playlists are listed. They are there on the screen or there on the channel, and you can walk through those with us. Okay, so remember, Limitless Living says that we're doing whatever we need to do. We are putting ourselves in the space where we are going to be successful, and we're doing whatever it takes to move into that space. So make sure that you are joining us. Make sure that you are not missing out on that. And all the tools that we're using, whether it's the 100-day walk to consistency, or the fasting that we do, or the YouTube Dwain Woode MD Live that we have that comes on Monday. Make sure that you're joining us, and make sure that you're letting folks know that we are in the space. All right. So if you are joining us, if you are catching us for the first time, or if you've not been with us in a while, you know how we do. Right? So we are walking through the Limitless Living journey on our main show, Dwain Woode MD Live, every Monday at 7 p.m. Central. That is the path that we're going down. So we educate, we empower, and we encourage. That's our Triple E formula for success. We educate with the shows, the podcast, the blogs. We empower with the tools that we're learning. And one of the tools, of course, is fasting. And we encourage with the community that we are moving through. And as we've been walking through that journey, there are many things that we are learning. And right now we are in the mini series talking about our health, the domains of our health. We just finished doing domain number 5, which is the social/relational domain last week. We've done the physical, the mental, the spiritual, the emotional. Remember, all of these have a direct impact on our metabolism. And dysfunctional metabolism is the source of many of our chronic diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, polycystic ovarian syndrome, fatty liver, obesity, and of course metabolic syndrome. They're calling it, NASH, right? Non-alcoholic steatohepatitis. It's all now called MASH. Metabolically associated steatohepatitis, right? Because we've learned that a lot of the things that go on have the direct impact or being impacted by our metabolism. So we're working on righting our metabolism, bringing it back into homeostasis. And let me say this, we're talking to adults with type 2 diabetes. We're talking those people who want to reverse their diabetes, who want to get off of medications, those people who are interested in improving their health and are interested in going to the next level. As we've been doing that, we're walking through this path. And on our main show, we're walking down that journey. And then on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, which is what you're catching us here, we are walking through the tools that we are using to achieve that goal. So you've joined us for another one of those episodes. And every week we do a fast. And so right now I am 24, just about 24 hours into this week's fast. I do a 72-hour fast. So we'll be doing our check-in tonight, check-in tomorrow, and then check-in the following day, that's Friday, as we do a complete review of preparing for the fast, getting through the fast, and then, of course, how do we break the fast? What are some of the foods that you can eat? If you were with us last week, you saw me actually eat right here on the show as we broke that fast. And so make sure that you join us as we go through all of those. And so that kind of lays for you out, if you're joining us for the first time, you kind of lays out for you what we do on a weekly basis. Right? So that is our plan. That's how we do it. That's how it runs. And so the tools that we're using, one of them here, of course, is fasting. All right. And so I want to do a check-in. So like I said, almost 24 hours into this week's fast. And there are 3 main areas that I want you, as you are getting into the fast, as you're thinking about your metabolism, as you are making changes in your health, as you're making changes in the things you do for your health, there are 3 main places that I want you to be paying attention to. And these are the places that I do my check-in on. Why these? Because they also, right, these 3 that we're going to be talking about, and let me go ahead and pull those up. So we're talking about how we're doing physically, mentally, and emotionally. Physically, mentally, and emotionally. Why are these important? Because not only are these the places that people tend to have difficulty with, but also these are 3 of the primary domains within our metabolic health, and of the domains that we talked about when we talked about our domains of health. You remember that? And so they are they come up so often that I want you to get used to the fact that these are places where you want to also be checking in with yourself, and anything that you're doing, anytime you are making a change, anytime you are talking about improving your metabolism, I want you to make sure that you are looking at these three areas, because they will become, or are, very important to the things that we do. Okay? So, physically, when we talk about physically, this is where a lot of people will say they feel lightheaded, they feel dizzy, they feel sweaty, they feel tired. They feel as though they have hit a wall as they're going through the day. Like they're going through, and all of a sudden something happens, and they can't they can't seem to make it through the day. I am not feeling that right now. Of course, I am, at the beginning of our fast, well, near the beginning of our fast. We're about a third of the way into the fast, but I'm not feeling any of those symptoms right now. I'm not feeling, and of course, I think I'm doing a good job of hydrating, and that has been helping me. You remember last week, I actually didn't do such a good job of hydrating, and so we ended up feeling lightheaded. There was one point that I told you that I was almost kind of woozy, if you will, as I moved through the day, and that was because I did not do a good job of hydrating. This week, of course, I've been drinking. I've got my mug. Let me take a big swig of that, and that's here, and so that really is helping me with the physical aspect of my fast. Other things that will happen is if we're not hydrated, we become dehydrated, then our body still has to do all the things that it normally does with less fluid. And so things like nutrients. So your body still needs the same amount of nutrients. So how do you get the same amount of stuff to a particular place if you have a decreased carrying capacity? Well, you make it goes faster. So our heart rate goes up so that the blood pumps faster, and so we feel that as palpitations. If you're fasting, and particularly as you get into some of the longer fasts, and your body is switching from carbohydrates to ketones, then there is fluid that's needed. You need hydration in order for those enzymes to work, for the waste material to be taken away, for new nutrients to be brought in. All right, so all of that has to do with keeping us healthy during that time and keeping our bodies going. So if we're not hydrated, so not only are we feeling weak and tired, we're feeling palpitations, we also are short-circuiting the fasting that we're doing, because there's not enough fluid there to lubricate the process to get us where we need to be. So make sure that you are doing that. But anyway, physically, right now, feeling pretty good. And then, of course, mentally, the thought process many times will go along with what's going on in your physical being, so that if you are tired, and you've probably seen this before, when you are tired, when you're fatigued, the brain doesn't work quite as well. Your reaction time goes down. You don't seem to be able to get the words right. You don't seem to be able to do those calculations, or do the thought process, or make those critical decisions. That happens if we're not doing well physically, and so those two go together. Right now, I'm doing well, so I'm feeling energetic. I've been getting good rest over the last couple of days, doing a good job of hydrating. So not anything there. I'm not feeling foggy-headed, or like I'm in a tunnel, or I'm in a bubble. I'm not feeling fuzzy. Those are all phrases and words that people will use as they talk about their thought process. And then, of course, emotionally, I'm pumped. I'm geeked. I am, we were away a couple weeks ago. We're back in the saddle. Some things going on with me personally. We have, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm meeting new people. I'm here, of course, with you, and that's always exciting to me. And so emotionally doing well. So physically, mentally, and emotionally, not an issue at this point. Let me go ahead and hop over and say hello to some of our community members, and then we'll take a look at blood sugars and talk about ketones, and then we'll go from there. So let's see who we got out there. And I saw several people. Let's see. I think Gian was the very first one. So let's go ahead and say hello to her. Hello, Gian. She said, I will come again, maybe as soon as possible. Pam is saying hello. Gian says, sorry, doctor. And Cornelia, I came back as soon as possible. Oh, I think I'm not sure that you left. We welcome you back. Cornelia says, oh, enjoy and hope to see you back soon, Gian. Hi, Pam. Cornelia, so Pam said hi to Cornelia. Gian says, hi, Pam. I'm in my Buddha class now. I will be back soon. Just say hello quickly. Okay, so thank you for coming through and saying hello. Pam is saying hi to Gian. I'm just give up the prolonged fast. Just stay one meal a day. I practice. Okay, so Gian saying she's doing one meal a day. And Pam is saying very good. And then Steve is saying hello to everyone. All right, so glad that you guys are. Gian, we welcome you back whenever you get back. And everyone else, thanks for hanging out. And so let's go ahead and let's take a look at blood sugars. So right now you'll see this is my Freestyle Libre. And you'll see that my blood sugar right now is 75. And so for most of today, we've been earlier in the day, probably right above 100, maybe 120-ish. And then for most of the day, starting at noon, we've been below 100, and right now 76. If I go ahead and pull up my Dexcom, you'll see there that, and this is a 12-hour view. Let me go ahead and do a 24-hour view. And you'll see that we've kind of been hanging out. So as high as 140, 150 yesterday, or this morning, I guess I should say, not yesterday. And going back before that, got up to as high as 180, it looks like. And that was right before we started fasting. All right, so right before fasting. And then down into the low 100s. And then this morning spiked up into the 150s, and then have been coming down for most of today. Okay? All right. And let's go ahead and let's take a look at my monitor. So I've got my Keto Mojo, and I've got my Contour. And let's grab from my container. Now, I've been trying to think back to last week, and I got a new set of strips, and I think I started having the issues with the new set of strips. So we'll see what happens now. And then let's grab a Lancet. So the blue is the ketone, and the brown is the blood sugar strip for the Keto Mojo. Let's go ahead and get that one over there. Here is a Lancet. And then I need okay. So I've got to get, looks like my strips are out for the Contour. So let's get that one off we'll have to get one there in a little while. So let's go ahead and grab, and we'll go ahead and start this one. This is the Keto Mojo. And let me go ahead and put this back up so we can get, and I'm going to open this one also so it's just off to the side. So we won't get the Contour, but we'll get the Keto Mojo. And for me, I just use a Lancet. We're going to find a finger and go ahead and boom, 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 and ow, ow, ow. That hurts just a little bit. Okay. Hopefully that gives me a good, yeah, there we go. So that's good enough to get that started. We'll see what that shows there. And while that's doing, I'm going to go ahead and keep. So 84 is what you see there. And of course, here is my. This is my Dexcom. So let's go ahead and get this out and grab the strip. And so once again, little over 23 hours of fasting. What do you think my ketones are going to be? What do you think those are going to be? Go ahead and drop that in the Drop that in the comments if you think you know what it's going to be. And of course, as always, I'm going to tease you guys. Okay. We'll take a look at that here in just a minute. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into our conversation. And so I kind of laid out at the top of the show what we're doing, why we're here. If you're joining us, we are in the process of learning about the tools, and one of the tools, of course, is fasting. And so fasting is a well-documented metabolic intervention with lots of benefits, ranging from insulin sensitivity, enhanced cellular repair, improved immunity, decreased inflammation. But research is also showing that social support can further optimize or improve the benefits that we have with fasting by modulating stress responses, reinforces behavior adherence. And so tonight we're going to examine how community engagement enhances the fasting experience. This past Monday, we did the 5th domain of health, and that was the social/relational health. As you remember, we're going through the domains of health, as we have indicated, and when we did our limitless living inventory introduced several weeks ago. And so we're walking through these domains, and with the social/relational health that we are talking about, that also plays into how we use the tools. Yeah? So how we use the tools it's very important as we are moving to be able to be successful with the things that we're doing. And so this will also impact how fasting works, how we do our fast, and the benefits that we get from fasting. So let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit about the science behind fasting and support. So the science behind fasting and support. So metabolic effects of fasting, and we've talked about them. So we know, remember the pillars of reversing diabetes. If we can do this for diabetes, we can extrapolate that to all of the metabolic diseases. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatty liver, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and then of course, ultimately, pre-diabetes and diabetes. Because remember, diabetes is on the spectrum, it is on the extreme side of the spectrum, with some of the other metabolic diseases being along the pathway to there. And if we can interrupt the pathway, then we don't get to pre-diabetes and we don't get to diabetes. But if we're there and we begin improving our metabolism, we can now head back in the other direction. Remember, we're talking to adults with type 2 diabetes or who have any of those diseases along the spectrum. So that's the premise of that. So reversing diabetes, remember the pillars: we decrease insulin, we suppress the appetite, and we reduce sugar. Decrease insulin, suppress appetite, reduce sugar. So when we talk about reducing or decreasing insulin, one of the primary things is insulin sensitivity. That is, how do we get our current insulin to work for us so that we don't have to take insulin from outside, or we don't have to take medications that force our body to make insulin. Because remember, the diabetes paradigm says that when we look at diabetes and we're looking at blood sugar as a marker, the sugar is too high and the body's ability to manage it is down here. So if sugar is here, the ability to manage it is down here. So we can do that one of two ways. We can fix that problem one of two ways. Either we bring the sugar down, or we increase the body's ability to manage where the sugar is. And so if we can somehow decrease the amount of sugar in our body, that's fasting, right? Because we're not putting anything in. And we can get the insulin that our body makes to work better, insulin sensitivity, then at some point we can get those two to meet. And when they meet, y'all, here's the thing. When those two meet, when the blood sugar comes down or the body's ability comes up and they meet, medication goes away. Right? So when those two things can happen, when we can do that naturally, bring the blood sugar down or bring the body's ability to regulate it up, then the medication that you're on goes away. That's the beauty of all of this. And so insulin sensitivity and glucose regulation, one of the things that fasting has been shown to help, right? So fasting helps reduce the insulin levels, and improve the glucose metabolism. Remember, insulin is the issue. Insulin is the culprit in a lot of the things we just listed along the metabolic syndrome. When insulin is too high, it causes your vessels to be stiff, and when the vessels are stiff, that causes high blood pressure. When insulin is too high, it causes you to store the things you're eating, and that means our weight goes up. When insulin is high, it stimulates our desires, stimulates our appetite, and so we have cravings. All of that comes from insulin. So decreasing insulin is of primary and paramount importance. So fasting does that. Fasting also helps with autophagy. That's that cellular cleanup process. It decreases inflammation, improves our immunity, our immune cells. It helps to regulate a lot of the things that are going on in our body. It helps to repair damaged, broken tissues. So periods of fasting stimulates autophagy. And that process causes improvement in the overall body. When we fast, our body is switching from burning carbohydrates to burning fat. So it has to go mobilize the fat. That results in weight loss. Right? And so one of the things that we have been talking about is my weight, and we'll see that as we get to the end of the show, what that looks like. So this promotes overall health. So fasting, that's the benefit, is the scientific benefit of fasting. Now, the benefit of community has to do with several things. Number one, stress reduction through social connection. If you've not done so, go ahead and check out our show that we did this past Monday talking about the benefits of social interaction. Studies have shown that social support can lower cortisol level. Remember, cortisol is one of the stress hormones. That's that hormone that's responsible for stress. This is the thing that causes you to be jittery sometimes. It's the thing that gets your heart rate going. Remember, cortisol, when it goes out and it tries to find energy in the form of sugar. So cortisol, when it comes out, causes blood sugar to go up. And when we are in community, when we are connected, cortisol goes down. So reduced cortisol during fasting can help to stabilize blood sugar levels and reduce the risk of stress-related overeating. Because why? What does stress cause? Stress causes our body to seek sugar because that's energy. And when we fast in community, right? Community helps to decrease that stress. Community also helps to release something called oxytocin. And oxytocin is a positive, it's the bonding hormone. It's the one that moms and new babies feel, right? That connection that they have, that is created by oxytocin. Sorry, guys. Right? That's mom and baby. Mom has a flood of oxytocin, and that helps her bond with the baby. So positive social interactions, and here's where it comes for us guys, right? Positive social interactions trigger the release of oxytocin. And when that happens, we get that link, we get that improved mood, we get that emotional resilience. These are all factors that contribute to better adherence to the fasting protocols. So when you're in community and that hormone comes out with the people that you're in, you bond with them, and this leads to more resilience when things are not going the way you expect. It leads to improved mood, and it contributes to the ability to last through the fast. Often we have people who say that, hey, I got into the fast and I just could not make it. And one of the reasons may be that we're not in community. So what are some practical benefits of fasting with community? Practical benefits of fasting with community. Number one, enhanced accountability and adherence. When people watching, When they know what you're supposed to be doing, you tend to do it more. You tend to do it better. You tend to do it longer, right? So when you have peer support, think about it. Anything that you do, if there's somebody there that knows what you're supposed to be doing, somebody that you have told, a friend, which is why it's very important sometimes to tell people what you're doing. Because if you don't tell them, you can always like, oh, I didn't really intend to do that. Well, no, you did, but you just didn't do it because nobody was watching. But when you have regular check-ins with a fasting buddy or a group, this increases the accountability and it helps you overcome moments of doubt, which you will have. Particularly in that first phase, right? That's postprandial phase. When you get in there, yeah, you may say, well, do I want to do this week? Well, yes, you do, but something is going on up here. But when you have some support, when you have somebody who's going to check in with you, when you have somebody who's going to be looking at you, somebody's holding you accountable, then you're more likely to stick with it and stay there. Number 2, you have a shared goal. When fasting goals are shared, when we say we're going to do a 72-hour fast, when we say, hey, we're doing a fast to improve our metabolism, when we say, hey, we're going to do an every other day fast, it reinforces your commitment and it creates a structured environment that is conducive for success. We talk about rhythm, alignment, and structure. Rhythm, alignment, and structure. We do not succeed often, not because we don't have desire, not because we don't have drive, not because we don't have know-how. We succeed because we don't have structure. And so the fasting and community gives you a shared goal and it provides structure. It provides an environment that is conducive for success so that you are talking to people who are doing the same thing you're doing. So that when you say, hey, I'm struggling with this thought about the Cadbury, or you're struggling with the thought about the Ben & Jerry's, or you're struggling with the thought about whatever, they get it, they understand, and they can help you because we all have a shared goal. Community, very important. And then behavioral and psychological advantages. There's motivation. Group dynamics can help you with a sense of purpose and it elevates your motivation. So when you're by yourself, there's more of a chance that you will succumb to whatever, right? Something's going on in your house. Something's going on your job. You don't feel well. Whatever it is, when you're by yourself, the likelihood is that those things can have an effect. But when you're in community, the community, right? The sense of purpose, the group motivates you. There is the group dynamic that happens. And it makes it easier to stick in there. It makes it easier to get on that fasting schedule, even on challenging days. Not that the days won't happen, not that those challenges won't happen, but because of community, because of the motivation that you get, that's incredible. It also gives you emotional regulation. The support that you get from community, it helps to mitigate the psychological stresses that are associated with fasting. Now, fasting is it's an amazing process. I'm trying to find a better word. It's an amazing tool. But there are things that happen in fasting, things that are going to happen during fasting. Remember, the reason we use food often is because food is a buffer. It is that thing that we do that takes our mind off of whatever. Right? We don't feel good, so we eat. We're feeling sad. We're feeling anxious. We're feeling depressed. We're feeling pain. We're in pain. We're bored, so we eat. And so when we're fasting, that crutch is no longer there. So the things that come, we have to face them. And that causes lots of psychological issues in us. And being in community helps us mitigate that, helps us decrease the stress. Because remember, here's a good one. So the food that we were eating brought us comfort, It brought us relief. It distracted our mind. And if we're in community, now the community does for us, come on now, it does for us what the food was going to do. And so we're able to now stick to it because we no longer need the food to fulfill that requirement because we have community for that. Oh, that's it. That one just came to me. So there's associated stress. And when we are in community, this helps us balance our emotional state so that we can stay in there, so that we can stick in there, so we can keep going. Right? So I want you to think about this. Within our community, there have been connections that have been made. And I love to hear people talking or see people talking and chatting in our group. You see them here and you hear them what they're saying, but in our private group, they're talking to each other. They're connecting, saying, "Hey, you can do this. We know you can do this." And when that happens, it helps us move faster to the stated destination. Otherwise, we're floundering, we're fumbling by ourselves because nobody is in our ear. Remember, we have an inner coach and an inner critic, and the critic is always going. The inner coach is there, and the support that you get from the community strengthens that inner coach. To know that somebody is watching, somebody is there, somebody's going to check in on me. Somebody's going to say to me, "You got this. You can do this. We believe in you." So there's that psychological piece. There's emotional feedback that happens, right? So one member saying to another, "Hey, this is what's going on." They say, "Man, I feel you." And when I was away and within the community, one of our community members was saying, "Hey, I hope you're having a good time, right? Hope you're doing well." So for me, personally, the community had been beneficial. And even the times when we have challenges, when the community has challenges, when a person has challenges, being in connection has allowed improvement and benefit. So this is an illustration of how positive encouragement translates into tangible benefits for metabolism and for mental well-being. So as we're talking about the social/relational health, it transcends, it extends, it goes into all of the things that happen as we're using these tools. And fasting is no exception to that. So what are some strategies? Strategies to leverage community during fasting, right? Number one, you want to establish a fasting buddy system, right? And so we have community members and I'm saying wherever you are, you want to reach out. If you're not in our community, we'd love for you to join it. But if you're not in our community, make sure that you are not doing this by yourself. Get some folks in your area. You create a buddy system. Pick up the phone and say to some folks that you know, because you know some people who need help with their metabolism. You know some people who are struggling with their diabetes. One of the things I love in my office is when I have a patient who says to me, "Man, I told my friend about you and they're going to come see you." And that friend now shows up and they are now in the space. And I've got some people, I got some sibling rivalry or some friend rivalry in the office, because one will come and they say, "Man, when I go home, I'm gonna call my brother and tell him what my A1C was, because mine is better than his was the last time." Right? So and notice that. Oh, wait. So that's not even talking about fasting, right? That's simply talking about community. That's simply talking about people who are doing things together. They've now developed a conversation. They've developed kind of a rivalry. They've developed a motivation that they do with each other. And so wherever you are, don't do this by yourself. Find some people at your church, on your job, in your house. Find somebody and say, hey, I'm fasting. I'd love us to fast. Maybe they're already fasting. Maybe they've thought about fasting. Maybe they've wanted to fast and they didn't know how to do it. And up you come, or in you come, and boom, there it is. You can be the answer to somebody else's question about how to do this. And here's a thought for you. Right? And this transcends the fasting. Your journey that you're on, as disordered, as problematic, as bumpy as it has been, your metabolic journey, your journey could be the answer to somebody else's question and to somebody else's problem. I want you to think about that. So often we do in isolation, and we hide the journey that we're on because we want to see the end result. We want people to see the end result. But when you share your journey, that could be exactly the thing that somebody else needs, because they in their mind are thinking, man, I can't do that. She or he is perfect. They're doing this great. That's why I tell y'all, when I eat the Cadbury or whatever it is, right? So find a buddy, create a system, when you're fasting, schedule a daily or a periodic check-in. Share those experiences. Troubleshoot the challenges together. Be in the space together. We are stronger when we're together. We do fasting better when we're together. So one, find a buddy system, establish a buddy system, create a buddy system. You could join a group like our group, right? And that right below on your button on your screen somewhere, there should be a button that says join. Join our group. Get into a forum, social media groups, local meetups. Right? We have people in our area that meet up for lots of different. They got bowling leagues, they got card leagues, they got whatever it is. Create a fasting league. Remember, structure is important. Structured support groups can provide educational resources, motivation, and shared accountability. Now, imagine this, right? So I did a fast last week, and we've been doing our fast. And so I came on, and I did my my fast here. Well, I broke my fast on air, right, on our show, in our episode. Imagine what it's like to have a group of people that you've been fasting with, and you guys say to each other, hey, you know what? When we break our fast, we're going to break our fast together. We're going to go down to the wherever, come over to my house, or we're going to go over to whatever restaurant, and we're going to break our fast there. Break the fast together so everybody gets to see. Everybody gets the shared experience. So when you break the fast, you're not at your house, right, thinking about all the stuff that you didn't eat during the fast, or imagining just going to town on the stuff you're going to eat, because everybody's there and we are eating. You may not eat the same thing, but you are seeing what each other is eating. And during that time, you're sitting there for 20, 30 minutes. That gives you time to eat the stuff. The signal, remember, it takes 20 minutes for the signal to get to your brain that you're full. When you're by yourself, guess what? You're eating. You probably eat 2 or 3 times what you should eat, because there's nothing there to stop you. But the community that you just created, the community that you've done, that's a great idea. Break the fast together. Right? It brings accountability. It allows you to be accountable. Structured support groups provide education, resources, motivation, and shared accountability. So that's how you leverage the benefit of community. And that benefit is tremendous. So not only have we done the limitless living inventory to say, okay, what are the areas in my life? What are the areas in my life that I have to address? What are the areas of my health that I have to address? And there are 8 that we're walking through. But now we can leverage those very same areas to now empower us in the things we're doing, in the tools that we're doing, so that our community now is enriched because we've formed a community. Our community is enriched because we're doing things together for our health. Our community is enriched because we are supporting each other. And our community is enriched because you are now not buffering, because the community now provides for you some of the very same things that you were using the food to do. I love that. Right. One of the questions I have sometimes is about things like Mounjaro, Ozempic, Zepbound, Wegovy. So those are the GLP-1 receptor agonists that people are using for weight loss. And so there are times when people can't use them for something, right? For either because it's causing too much constipation, or it's causing upset stomach, or the insurance won't pay for it, or, I mean, just a myriad of reasons why a person can't be on those. And one of the most amazing times is when someone has been on it and they've seen the benefits, right? So they've gotten the weight loss, the blood sugars are better, and they are just so excited. And something happens that requires them to get off of it. And the thought that most people have is a thought of panic. And the thought of panic comes because they're saying to themselves, oh my God, what am I going to do now? Right? Because here's this thing that was working. I was losing weight. I've got people who were down 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 pounds. And they found something that was working, and they're like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? Because now the thing that was suppressing the appetite, the thing that was controlling that, is going away. And so we have an interesting conversation. Because like I'm saying to you right now, there are other things that do exactly the same thing as the medication. Community does the same thing as the medication. Because remember, the medication, right? And I'm talking about the appetite suppressing part of the medication, not the blood sugar part. Right? So what it does is it suppresses the appetite. Well, we've just said that much of our appetite comes from those cravings. Remember the heat model that we talked about? So appetite is driven by that. Elevated insulin, elevated sugar. It's driven by stress. So if my community that I'm in, if this group that I'm in, if the support system that I have can decrease my stress, which decreases my cortisol, which decreases my sugar, which decreases my insulin, all of a sudden I have done with community, suppressing the appetite, the very same thing as those medications have done or are doing. You get me? And so the benefit of community is huge. It is tremendous. We still don't understand all that community does. But in this space, we know that when we're in community, then our fasting gets better. We can fast better, we can fast longer, we can be more successful in our ability to be resilient during the fast. Our ability to stick in there and do what we need to do to be successful. So what do I want you to do? So we talk about joining a group. The other thing, and let me finish this part off. So one of the things that you should be doing is you should be documenting your journey. Documenting your journey and sharing your journey with other people. And this goes back to my point of saying that your journey, the journey that you're on, as rocky, as shaky, as interrupted, as imperfect as it is, your journey is the exact answer to somebody else's question about their metabolism. And your ability to share that comes from your documentation. So get your journal. Get your journal. That's one of the reasons I love doing video, because I a lot of my video is my journey. That's my documentation. If you've been following me on the 100-day walk to consistency, all of the things that we are talking about, that's the documentation of my journey. Those keystone principles that we talk about, those limitless living principles that we talk about, that's my documentation. And so I've got it there immortalized in video. If you don't like to write, get a recorder and record it. If you don't like to do that, draw. Some people draw. I mean, whatever you need to do to be able to document, so that when someone says, and somebody's going to ask you, what did you do to lose the weight? What did you do to improve your blood sugar? What did you do to reverse your diabetes? When you document, then you can share that with them. Also, when you come to the group, you can share what has been going on. Otherwise, we're stuck trying to remember what happened yesterday. So keep a fasting journal. Keep a log. Share that. Share the progress in the community. What are your insights? What are you learning? That can be very, very valuable to the people that are around you and the people that are in your community. So here's what I want you to do. So tonight, I want to challenge you to actively engage in our community. Right? So when you come here, and you'll hear me say this again because I'm going to repeat it. When you come, I want you to be engaged. Let us know, are you fasting? Hey, I've done a 2-hour fast. Hey, I've done a 12-hour fast. Hey, I've done a 24-hour fast. This is what's going on with my blood sugar. Whether you're fasting with a partner or you're joining an online group, make an effort to connect. Share that here. If you're not in our community, go ahead and join our community. The more you are engaged, the more we have, the more people that are here, the more robust the community gets, and the better it is at supporting you. So that's my challenge for you. So connect here in our community. Join the challenges that we're doing. If you're not on the walk, go ahead and start walking. If you've not fasted before, go ahead and start fasting. We recommend that everybody, unless there's a medical reason, and we've gone through those before, if you're a pregnant woman, if you are breastfeeding, if you have any kind of eating disorders, or your doctor told you can't fast, those are people that we're excluding. Everybody else should be able to fast at least for 24 hours once a week. That's our goal. Here, I do a 72-hour fast, and one of the reasons for doing that is so you can see what the blood sugars are. You can see the changes that are going on. So by integrating your social support into your fasting, you are not only optimizing your metabolic outcomes, but also building a resilient and health-focused network. So fasting, when combined with structured community support, offers a dual pathway to improve metabolic health and enhanced psychological well-being. The science is there. The evidence is there, and it underscores that reduced stress, increased accountability, both of those contribute to better fasting adherence and outcomes, better resilience, better improvement in your metabolic health, and ultimately taking us to that next level that we always say we want. Awesome. All right, so let's hop over and let's see some more comments. So Steve, we said Steve was there. He says hello. Tracy Stain said, what do you drink during your fast? Oh, okay, very good question. By the way, Tracy, thank you for coming through. Give you a hand clap and some music. And so during my fast, I drink water. I drink, and let me pop this one over. This is one of the things I drink. So this is the pure leaf one. I also Gold Peak also has one, and it's the zero sugar teas. I used to drink, well, as I say, I used to. I also drink zero sugar, like if I want soda. And so here are a couple of thoughts. Here are a couple of things, actually, not thoughts. But there are certain things that we relate to food. The texture, the feel, the crunchiness. And so for me, one of the things I love is when I drink carbonated drinks. I love that burn in the back of my throat. And this, I mean, it is me. And so I mostly will do these, right? I mostly would do water or zero sugar tea. But I also sometimes, particularly as I'm going through those first several hours, the postprandial hours or first 12 hours of fasting, I'll have that almost a craving, and so I'll go get some of that. If I'm going through the fast and I'm feeling like bored sometimes, right? So you drink this, I drink this, I drink this. It's, I'm doing 72 hours. I do it every week. And so sometimes I'm like, you know what? I want something else. I need another texture, another flavor, another feel, another whatever in my mouth. And I'll drink like a zero sugar Coke. Not Coke, but what's the new one that is? Oh, Dr. Pepper. Because they have all the flavors now. Oh my goodness. Sorry. That's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, so Tracy, that's what I have. All right, so let's hop back over. Let's see. Pam says hi, Steve. Cornelia says hi, Tracy. Pam says hi, Tracy. Lorraine, hey Lorraine, how are you? Lorraine is saying she thinks that my ketones are gonna be 0.9, and then Cornelia is saying hello to Lorraine. Well, let's go ahead, and I'm actually going to do my ketones again and let's go ahead and pull it up. Where's I had to do my Keto Mojo. So I got that same, let's go ahead and pull this. Let's go ahead and turn this on. I'm going to go ahead and get it synced. Now I am, like I said, 24 hours in the fast, so it's certainly possible that my body is that efficient, but the ketones were 0.1, so blood sugar of 84, ketones of 0.1. So I'm going to check it again and see what it is, and then of course we'll come back tomorrow and we'll check that, and then of course when we do our check-in on Friday, we'll see that again. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and actually I'm going to do it twice. So let's do that together. Let's do that experiment. Let's grab a couple of, and I think those bottom ones were the ones that I got. So I got a new set of strips, like I mentioned before. So let's do this. I'm going to check it. I think this is one of the old strips. Let's do that one. All right, so we're gonna do 4, right? So let me do this. Yeah. So, why is that? Okay, so I'm gonna do ketones twice more, and then blood sugars twice more, just so that we can have those. So let's go ahead and open this up, so you guys get to do this experiment with me. All right, so that's a blood sugar, ketone. And notice I'm not putting them in yet because I'm trying to get them all open once. All right, so we're going to have to do this relatively quickly. All right, so I got that. And then let me grab a Lancet. Let's see, do I have one of the ones I like? Here it is. Okay. All right, so let's start with... I'm going to do ketone. I'm going to do ketone, blood sugar, okay? So let's get this one in. So ketone, blood sugar, and then ketone, blood sugar. So let's go ahead and get a finger stick. And while I do that, I'm going to go ahead and put this up on the screen. I don't know if it'll pull it off until we go ahead and do a sync. So, and I'm going to try to get all 4 drops of blood from this one stick. So let's see if I did a good job. So that's a good flow right there. So that's good. Let's go ahead and get this ready to go in. Otherwise, my blood will dry. All right. So 2, 3, 1. So blood sugar. So ketone 0.7. Look at that. See 0.7. And let's get a blood sugar. So 0.7 was that ketone. Get that blood sugar going, and I'm gonna keep this pumped. Okay, 74. And let's go ahead and get ketones again. All right, let's do that there. And so go ahead and get that one started. All right, and then gotta get another drop of blood. One more, come on, come on. It looks like it's drying, y'all. That's okay. I think we can get one more. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So ketones 0.6 on that second one. And then let's see if we got just enough to get another blood sugar. Come on, come on. No. Yeah, it dried a little bit too much. Okay, so let me see. No, not quite yet. Okay. So, well, maybe. I don't think that's going to give us an accurate number. Well, 75. 75. Okay. All right. So you saw there, right? So the first one, if you remember when we did it at the beginning of the show, that strip that I was using was from the new batch that I got last week when we were having the issue. And so what I did was at the office I had another pack from the old set of strips, and I brought that, and so that's what I used to get those. So I got a 0.7 and 0.6. So let's go ahead and pull those over. Let's go ahead and sync. Because as I said last week, it did not make sense that after fasting for that long that my ketones were 0.1, so that just did not make sense. So so pull those over, and yeah, so these are the two that we just got. Let's see here. All right, so 0.6 with a 75, and then 0.7 with a 74. Okay, so that is more in keeping with what I thought it should be. And I think it was it Lorraine? Yeah, Lorraine says 0.9 is what she thought it was going to be. So close, not quite there yet, but close. So let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's take a look at my reports. All right, so let's hop over and let's do that now. And so here's my Dexcom Clarity. All right, and so here is my Clarity report, and you'll see there that my average blood sugar for the last 2 weeks, this is 14 days, has been 103. I'm in range 93% of the time, with the range being 70 to 180. And my glucose management indicator is 5.8. So that means that if I were to get an A1C based on these blood sugars, then my A1C would estimate or approximate a 5.8. Remember, I can't call it an A1C because it's a calculated number. An A1C is actually a number that we get when we draw blood. So if I look at my daily graphs, right, so here I am right at 24 hours, okay, blood sugar of 100, and if I scroll back, you'll see what I've been running most of today. All right, so the highest up here was after let's go back at 24 hours. So right here was where I ate. So I was 107 or so when I ate, and then after I ate, the blood sugar climbed to the highest actually happened in the morning, like a 180, I think, yeah, 180, and then it started coming back down, and then 24 hours later is where we are right now. If I go back before then, right, this was before I was fasting, and so here is where we were on Monday when we were doing our show, so in the low 100s. If I go back before that, that was the day before. So eating, but still kind of hanging out in the one low 100s, 120s. And let me see, over here, what did I eat? So here I actually had, what did I have? I had jerk chicken and nachos. Okay, so this is probably from the nachos, not the jerk chicken, because I don't put a lot of I don't put any sugar in. And so look at that. So going back 2-3 days, actually the numbers have been in the low 100s. Now here, and it's usually so I tend to do one meal a day. So when I do one meal a day, I'm tending to eat later in the day, and that's why you see most of the time when I've eaten my meal later in the day, my spike in my blood sugar happens overnight. All right, so if I'm eating late in the evening, that one meal a day, then my spike happens overnight. And then the blood sugar starts dropping for the day, and then we get the spike again. So even here, when I was fasting, this was Friday, and we were down in the 50s and 60s, and I ended the fast, and you remember I ate the salad. What did I have? No. Did I have salad? Now I'm forgetting what I ate. Yeah. So whatever I ate, go back and watch that episode. And so I ate, and then the blood sugar spiked up. So we went from in the 50s or 60s and went up to the 100s, right, in those initial hours. And then overnight, we got as high as 170, maybe 174. Yeah, that was what it is. Okay. And so that actually is what. So now you see what's going on with blood sugars. And so my one of the points I want to make there is that it is possible to still be eating and have the blood sugars remain reasonable. Here I am, I'm doing one meal a day, right? So that's usually what I plan to do, one meal a day. Now, that is not a hard and fast rule. So when I'm not fasting, when I'm not in my 72-hour fast, I eat a quote-unquote regular diet with one meal a day. Now, there are times where, for instance, on Tuesdays is when I start the fast later in the evening, right? So that's why on Wednesday, we end up at 24 hours and then 29 hours or whatever it is. So on Tuesday, sometimes I'll have two meals because my team eats at lunch. We have our meeting at lunch. And then I'll have something else because I know that I'm about to get into a 72-hour fast. So on that day, I may have 2 meals a day or 2 meals that day. Or the reason I do a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday fast is that most of my family activities happens on the weekend. So whether it's church or some function my son has or some social thing that's going on, that usually happens on the weekend. So I don't want to be fasting during when that's happening. So I'll do it to Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. That allows me to get my fast out of the way and get into my social connection time with family. Because going back to that social thing we just talked about, and that's one of the domains of health, I don't want to sacrifice my connection with family, connection with friends, connection with the people simply because I'm fasting. That's, to me, doesn't make any sense. Because the reason I am fasting is to improve my metabolism. The reason I want to improve my metabolism is so I can stay alive longer and be healthy. The reason I want to stay alive longer and be healthy is so I can connect. So if the thing I'm doing takes me away from connection, then that's not what I want to do. Now, I want to do it properly, and I want to do it in a way that gives me the benefit. So it's not that I'm saying, you know what, I'm going to do what the family wants and hang out with my people and to the heck with fasting. I'm not doing anything for my metabolism. No. I am incorporating my life, or incorporating fasting into my life. And that's what we want to do. If you can do that, then you set yourself up for the greatest possibility of success. Awesome, awesome. All right, let's see. I hear some chatter going on, so let's go ahead and do that again. Let's look back. So Gion is hi. Hey Gion, thank you for coming through again. Cornelia says, you got it, Steve. That's right. Gion says chickpea. Sorry, that's right. I did chickpea, bone broth, and sausage. That's right. Cornelia said, glad you made it back. Gion said, thank you, Cornelia. Maxie Bidwell. Hey, Maxie, thank you for coming through. Let's give you a hand clap first of all. And some music. And Maxie says, hi, good night. My first time here. Quick question. Should I still take my metformin even when I'm fasting? I try to do a 17 or 18-hour fast. So Maxie, the first comment that I want to make, and for everyone, whenever I answer questions, is always check with your healthcare provider. Okay, that's the very first thing. What I tell my patients to do is, well, let me back up and let me set the tone for the question, or for the answer to the question. When we did when we went through our season last year, the New Year, New You season, one of the shows we did was on medications that you should probably stop, medications you should probably get on, and then medications that are beneficial. Okay, so if you're not done so yet, go ahead and watch that show. And I think we did that in maybe a 2 or 3 part series in that time. So our goal in this space is to reverse diabetes and to get people off medication, whatever medication, right? So ultimately, that is the goal. Now, there are some medications that are giving benefit. So if we're talking about the order of medications, there are some that we would say, okay, as we're moving to get off medications, these are the last ones we're going to get off of. And in that list would be medications like the GLP-1s that we talked about earlier, the ones that people are using for weight loss. Also on that list, maybe right close to that, or maybe above that, would be metformin. And the reason for that is that metformin is one of those medications that can help us improve our insulin sensitivity. Now, metformin has gotten a bad rap because of a bunch of stuff. I won't get into that. We also did a show about that, by the way. So that's the backdrop. Now, back to your question, is when we're fasting, our goal is to be able to keep our blood sugars controlled without the medication. And so what I advise my patients to do is, as we get better, and here's the thing, as you get better, your body is going to begin healing, and you're going to be able to tolerate different things that you couldn't tolerate before. For example, there are people, when they finish fasting, they can eat some foods after fasting that they couldn't eat before. What I mean by that is when they ate it before, even when they were on medications, they got blood sugars of 200-300. And now that they've fasted, those days right after fasting, they can eat the same thing and the blood sugar maybe goes up to 150, 160, maybe 170. Why? Because their body now has better capacity. So with respect to the medication, my recommendation to them is, as we are learning, as we are healing, maybe that first time, maybe the first several times that you fast, you may still need medication. But as your body heals, the goal is going to be the day before you fast, that you're off of the medication. Of course, the time when you're fasting, you're off of medication. And probably the day after you fast, you're off of medication. So if you're doing a 24-hour fast, that gives you 3 days of no medication. And we're talking specifically here about diabetes medication. Okay? So that is kind of the thought process behind all of the medications that we use to treat diabetes. The goal is definitely on the day of fasting that we minimize the amount of medication we have to take. And if we do a good job, then the day before, maybe half a day before, and then half a day following, we don't need medication because the blood sugars are great. Going back to my graphs, let's take a look. Let's take a look at, let's see, which day should we look at? Yeah, so let's look at this day. So this was the day I broke the fast. Let's assume that I had done a 24-hour fast. Okay? If I did a 24-hour fast, well, let's look at this one actually. Let me make a change. Let me go back. So if I did a 24-hour fast, so this day, right? So these blood sugars are what I'm expecting, or close to these, or maybe a little higher. So if this is my blood sugar on the day of fasting, then I would not need any medication because the blood sugars are in the 60s and 70s. And remember, as you go longer in the fast, your blood sugars will get lower and lower and lower. So if that's the case, then definitely on this day, I don't want medication. I don't want anything else driving my blood sugar lower because the fasting itself is doing that. And if I'm coming out of the fast, right? So let's go take this day. So when I came out of the fast and I ate, the blood sugars went up, and I think it peaked up here at 140. Look at that. So during this day, the blood sugar went up, but it came right back down. And so for the rest of the day, we kind of hung out in the 130s, 120s. So I would say that for the second day after the fast, I wouldn't have needed anything. And then if I go even further following that, this is the second day after the fast. Look at those blood sugars. So this day, I would say I don't need any medication, right? So it depends on what's going on with your blood sugars. Like I said, always, always, always check with your healthcare provider. But that's kind of the premise and the idea behind the medication, that our goal ultimately is to get off of the medication. And so as our bodies are healing and getting better, there are going to be days where we won't need medication. And here's I love this part. Here's another idea. There are going to be days, Maxie, or weeks, once you do the fasting, once the body's working, there are going to be weeks that you don't need any medication. Notice what I said, weeks where you don't need any medication. But your birthday is coming up, or anniversary is coming up, or you're going on vacation, and you're going to eat differently on that day or that week. And so that day, that week, maybe you take medication. When you come back, you get back on, I shouldn't say get back. When you come back, you may not need that because you are not eating like you did when you were on vacation. And yes, when we went away, when we were in London, when we were in Paris just a couple of weeks ago, I fasted. Yes, I did. People say, "Oh, you went over there and you didn't eat all the food." No, I mean, I'm not. My goal is not to eat the food. My goal is to enjoy the time. Part of it is food. And so I didn't go off of my eating plan when I'm there. My eating plan went with me. Because it is not I'm going to do that for a little while. It is a lifestyle issue that we're working on. Remember, limitless living is not a fad. It's not designed for you to do it today and then end it tomorrow. It's designed to set the tone and set the pace for everything you do for the rest of your life. That's limitless living. And so as we talk about our platform, remember, everything we do is built on the Triple E formula for success. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. We educate with the shows, the blogs, the podcasts. We empower with the tools that we learned: fasting, balanced bites. We learned the pillars for reversing diabetes. We learned how to create a meal, how to create a menu. All of those things are tools, and that empowers you. Because remember, the things that we learn, it's a mindset change, but it's just theory until you infuse it with power by your actions. And your actions come when you feel empowered with the tools that we're learning. And then we encourage with the community that you are building, the community that you are part of. That is the beauty of what we just talked about. The community, let me drink some because my lips are getting a little dry. The community is a powerful driving force for your health. When the community works, when the community does, or when you connect with community, you have amazing potential to go to places and to do things that you never thought that you would be able to do. Because community is amazing. Community is that powerful. And you want to make sure that you are setting yourself up for the best possibility of success by being in community. All right. So Triple E Formula for Success. If you're not part of our community, I encourage you, I invite you to join our community. In fact, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and drop that in the comments so that you I always have. Yeah, so I'm going to drop that in the comments so that you can get over there. And we're going to have our community, or after the show, here in just a minute. So go ahead and hop in there if you are on. With this. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to pop that in here in just a minute. Okay, so educate, empower, and encourage. You see I have my 91.4% shirt on. And 91.4% is the number, the percentage of things that we worry about that never come true. So we say it again. 91.4. This is the percentage of things that happen that we worry about that never come true. And so we spend our time chasing, worrying, stressing, being anxious, and it never happens. So I encourage you to don't let this be your thing. Limitless living saying that this is no longer a thing for me. This is not what's going to take me out. This is not what's going to be. This is not what's going to be the thing that takes me down. Not anymore. 91.4%. So here's the link. I just put that in there. Okay? Awesome. All right. Well, I am always excited, everybody. Always excited to be here in this space with you. This allows us the ability to talk, allows us the ability to learn, and to take our lives to the next level. Tomorrow we'll come back with our check-in again as we go to 48 hours and beyond. And then Friday we'll do our, as we go to 72 hours, also our review of fasting. We are coming back on Saturday night at 9 o'clock with a video from the vault. And then, of course, Sunday morning, 6 a.m. Central with This Week in Review. The videos for the 100-day walk, they're out there, and we are continuing to move. We are on day 80-something, 84, 85, okay? And we are moving. We're moving. We're ending the end of that series, and you want to get involved with that. The videos are there. You can begin. If you're just joining us now, if you're just seeing those videos, you can get out there and you can begin walking through the path. Because our limitless living model says that we're doing all the things that we need to do. And big part of it is our diet. One of it is our activity. A part of that is our organization. Often we don't do the things we need to do because we're not organized. I'll tell you, for me, I became more organized as I was doing the series. Because I had to be organized to be able to do all the things that I needed to do. So make sure that you're joining us. And as I always say, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, go to the next level, and create the life you've always wanted. And we are living a limitless living life. And limitless living says that we're not allowing anything to impede us. We are breaking free from the constraints. We're breaking free from those boundaries. We're presenting our best self, our best health, and our best plans for our life. We're not allowing anything from outside or anything from inside to prevent us from doing what we need to do to be successful. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you at our next episode. Good night, everybody.